So I've been meaning to do a video about fidget spinner buttons. Basically, fidget spinner buttons are interchangeable, but they're not perfectly interchangeable. So they can be a nice way to upgrade or customize a spinner, but they're a little bit more tricky than you might expect. So basically speaking, we have fidget spinners with big bearings. That's a 608 style bearing. And then fidget spinners with small bearings. It's the R188 bearing. There are other bearings out there, but for the most part, that's what you're gonna see if you're watching this video. This is an R188 size. You can buy buttons that fit the R188, like these buttons from Zerofeud, or you could buy buttons that fit the 608, like these clear plastic ones from Yardworks. Quality will vary significantly. The size can vary significantly. You can just see that these are quite large and quite thick. This diameter is big enough for a thumb, even if you have fairly large fingers. But these little caps right here, and I'm going to use the term caps and buttons interchangeably. These little buttons right here are also R608 caps. So a lot thinner. And then we'll look at them in the diameter is significantly smaller than the ones from Zerofeud. And obviously you're looking at the aesthetics as well. So these are nice. It's a tumbled steel. Here we have brass. These are really nice copper buttons from Rotoblade. Here's the original buttons from the Torqbar. They're gorgeous, but they are really low profile. This is a set of upgrade buttons from Neospin. They're cheap. They come in this cool black, but you could see right here, and then obviously on the bottom, the anodizing is wasn't done quite properly, so they're starting to fall apart, even though they're not very old. But they are a really sharp black. So for example, to start this video, I had this really nice C3 spinner, which I'm a big fan of. And I put on these nice low profile black caps. I think that's pretty sharp looking. Maybe you disagree. So let me see what else I could have done with that. This is an R188 bearing. So I should be able to put in the bearings from the Torqbar, which are quite slippery because they're so tiny. And no, they don't fit. You can see that this bearing is in a collar, where this bearing is not in a collar, so they're not interchangeable. Then we could try the Zerofeud bearings. Again, they won't work. So this seems really easy, but it's not a perfect setup. You have to use some trial and error to figure out what will work and what won't work. Just for reference, I'll put the original ones back in there and we'll see. So in this case, I was actually pretty lucky that those Neospin buttons, which were only about $5, they're sort of entry-level ones, were fit. So and here's the original brass. Moving on to the 608. Here's a Yardworks dab, which is a really nice little super pocketable spinner. Doesn't even need buttons, but I got these big buttons from Neospin. These are called the I think the Herc or something like that, and they're just really beefy. Have the nice knurling on the side. The machine work was about pretty good quality. I wasn't blown away, and I was able to drop these in. And it's a perfect fit. Maybe you don't like how it looks, maybe you think it's oversized, but it does work really well. I would love to put these Zerofeud caps on there, but now what we're trying to do is get a R188 cap, put it on to a 608 bearing, and it doesn't work. It won't thread. This bearing is too thick, so that's really too bad. On this little tiny Torqbar, here's what the button normally looks like, but as it would happen, these really well made, just beautiful Zerofeud buttons fit on perfectly. Again, maybe you don't like how it looks. It does sort of dominate the size, but it lets your Torqbar do a really nice spin. And then you could mix and match materials. Here you have the steel with the titanium, which is really nice. Again, not for everyone. Lastly, what I've been trying to do is figure out some instances where you could get a faulty spinner like this one, drop out the bearings, and put something in place that is going to be a better fit. These don't work, unfortunately. I think that would be a nice match, but again, we're trying to mix a 608 diameter hole, 608 diameter end into the R188 hole, and that won't work. We could try something like this rotor blade, but because of the way this spinner was made, if I tighten this down, it will not spin. The spinner is clamped on the body, the cap is clamped onto the body of the spinner as opposed to on the middle piece of the bearing. So some of these get really tricky, and what seems like it should be a no-brainer actually will not work because each spinner is made slightly differently than the rest. So don't just feel like you could drop some money on some really nice caps and have it work every time. Like, this would be a perfect fit for me. I really like the aesthetics. And so it works on one side, but it does not work on the other. And that's actually been a problem I've had with this spinner. I think this spinner is just poorly designed, and I'm going to work on that. But if you look past the functionality, I think it's actually quite cool looking. Right now, could do a nice desk spin, and it is super low profile, which I think is a great look. So yeah, I think that covers a lot of it. Really, what you want to do is to know what you're getting into, to buy some good caps like these from Neospin. I'm a big fan of. These Zerofeud ones are far and away the nicest I've used. I don't have a lot of experience with the Zerofeud products, but quite happy with those. Stock caps over here, we could look at them and see that they're recessed, and that recess was part of the design of the spinner. You can see this well here is also recessed, which is causing some problems with replacing. Eventually, with trial and error, you will get there, but it is not always as easy as it should be. Lastly, you have to figure out the aesthetic matches. Again, I really like this Zic. It will work with these 608 caps from Neospin, but if you look at this right here, That is a very different spinner than how it was sold at stock, which is with these plastic guys. The sound is going to be changed. The obviously the aesthetics are going to be changed. Performance is not really changed because the fit is solid, but just a very different thing. So yeah, try to figure out what you are getting into before you, or I guess look before you leap, and try to test these out if you can. Whistle caps tend to get a little bit expensive. Most of them are over $10 and some are over $20. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them below. Thanks for watching.